Welcome to Fuzia TV, a show dedicated to showcasing and empowering women worldwide. I'm Riya Sinha, your host, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming an inspiring woman, Trisha Bright. She has been a business executive in marketing and has worked in the tech industry for over 20 years. Trisha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Riya. I'm really excited to be here today.
So first, tell me a bit about yourself and what work are you doing now and kind of what's led you to that?
Sure. So I have most recently been involved in a startup company that I co-founded, and in that role, I was leading up the product strategy, the marketing strategy, and the business strategy for Good Social, which was it's a social platform for social impact. And I've spent all of my career in the tech industry, and after working for corporations for a very long time, I decided I wanted to pursue my entrepreneurial interests, and so that's what I've been doing most recently.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I think that's really cool to see you blend your interests and stuff like that. So my second question is kind of how does your culture, background, or values inform the way that you make decisions and the decisions you've kind of made in the past?
Sure. So, to me, when I think about the decisions that I make, both in my professional life and in my personal life, they really boil down to some of my core values as a person. And obviously, these are things that I learned both through my family, my upbringing, as well as the companies that I've worked for. I really look to the leadership to set the tone. And to me, the things that I really think about when the values that I bring to my decision making are, is this a decision that really aligns with my values and something that I will always feel good about? Is it something that I can do with absolute integrity? And is it being true to myself? I think that's really something I've learned over the years, is that your decisions have to feel good to who you are as a person.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really important. And so my next question is, what are 3 topics that you're most passionate about?
So I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship. I think that is such a vibrant community of people. There are so many interesting and exciting ideas that people are pursuing, and so I love to really tap into that whole community and that vibe. I'm also very passionate about food, so that's a personal passion area. And then something more business related, I'm very passionate about gender equality. I think that we have made some great progress, and I know there are a lot of people and organizations that are working on gender equality, and you're seeing more and more companies be very forthcoming about their gender equality initiatives. But it's something that I want to see us accelerate, not just for myself, but for people of your generation. And I also have 2 young daughters who will be entering the workforce at some point in time in the not too distant future. And I really want to make sure that women of all ages and ethnic backgrounds have the same opportunities and are recognized in the same way and are compensated in the same way as men. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that and participating in groups that are focused on making that happen.
Yeah, I think really that's similar to what I've always been thinking, is growing up and you see the biases kind of start very early, and so I think it's definitely important to think about the best ways to combat that in the workforce and then before the workforce too, so that women can kind of feel empowered in whatever they want to do. And so I definitely definitely think it's really important to have that in mind. And my next question is kind of who are your mentors and how you say that mentorship has affected your life? And do you think it's important to the industry that you work in specifically?
So I think no matter what industry you're in and at whatever stage of your career you're in, mentorship is extremely important. A good mentor is somebody who's going to help guide you, who can help you think through challenging situations, and really, to me, a good mentor is somebody who will challenge you and will give you things to, very specific things that you can take away and work on. And, I've had the privilege of being mentored by many people throughout my career. Most of the time they've been people that I've worked for in the past, who, once that formal manager-employee relationship has ended, I've maintained those relationships, but they've shifted, and I've looked to those people to help continue to guide me along my career path. Right now, I look sort of externally for not so much formal mentorship. I don't think mentorship necessarily has to be, a direct one-on-one relationship, although certainly that is one model, and I encourage everybody to, pursue those sorts of relationships. But I think there are some amazing examples of women that I like to look to, who I consider them my virtual mentors. So I think about women like Sarah Blakely, who's the CEO of Spanx, and then Sally Krawcheck, who is the CEO of Ellevest. I think both of those women are doing really innovative work and very inspiring work, and they're people that everybody can learn from.
Mm-hmm. And so my next question is kind of, I guess, what legacy do you want people to remember you by? Or, like, what do you think is, I guess, your vision, or how did you get to that for people who are kind of looking for clarity?
Yeah. So when I think back, I'll answer this in the context of from a business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I really want people to, I hope that I'm remembered for being a great leader, somebody that was, inspiring to people, led with integrity, was authentic as a leader. I think somebody who's viewed as being a compassionate person and has the ability to be empathetic towards others. I think that's incredibly important. And I want to hopefully be, thought of as somebody who really made a difference. Those, to me, if I accomplished those three things, then I would feel really good about the legacy that I leave behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think those are really important things to keep in mind and not get, complacent about or stop thinking about. My next question is I kind of on a different beat, but it's how do you deal with any discrimination that you faced, if you faced any, in the workplace, as you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so I will have to say that I feel that I've been very fortunate in that I don't feel like I've been in situations where I felt strongly discriminated against. So I want to be clear about that. But, I think there are things that are important. And I have advised women in particular who have been in those sorts of situations. And the things that I always counsel people on in that situation is take the emotion out of it, because that won't serve you. Just, take a step back and try to be as objective about what's going on as possible, because once emotion enters into it, it makes it more, I think, more challenging for you to deal with on a personal level, because it's really not you, it's the other person. Be very clear and making a record of what's, what the behavior is, what your experiences are, and always, consider alternatives to the situation, but never forget to report to whoever the appropriate parties are at your company or whatever situation you're in, exactly what's going on. And, really just to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, you've got to make a decision about whether you want to continue in the situation, if you want to take yourself out of the situation, or if you want to pursue any sort of, formal action. But really think through any one of those paths that you could take will affect yourself personally, and make sure that you're going to be okay with whatever one you choose.
Yeah. I definitely think that is important. Okay, yeah. I think the video was lagging for a little bit, but I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I definitely think that's important advice, and especially to, try and be as objective and like look at it from a standpoint of like never back down on your morals, but also think about it from different perspectives. Um, and then I guess what are the concrete ways that you've been able to like take care of yourself? Like how do you, I guess, um, like learn to love yourself, I guess, because I know for a lot of women that's a huge issue. Like everyone's really insecure about different things, and how do you like kind of treat yourself and like take care of yourself?
So there are a number of things that I do. I mean, first of all, just physical wellness is important. So I'm very try to be very focused on my diet, and being very committed to exercise. Of course, I drink a ton of water because I think that's so important to just making you feel good. Um, I have a meditation practice, which is incredibly helpful for sort of taking care of myself. Um, and, you know, I think a lot of it is just being very aware of the thoughts that you have, because at the end of the day, it's your thoughts that create your feelings. And so if you can be very aware of what thoughts you're sort of repeating to yourself about yourself, and if you can catch yourself when you enter into a negative thought pattern and redirect it, and just, remind yourself of all of the things about yourself. I think, women in particular tend to really focus on the things we don't like about ourselves. But if you can really just decide and commit to yourself that you're going to be kind, and focus on the positive things, and really, emphasize those when you're, having those conversations about yourself in your own mind, then you can really talk yourself into a good place, as long as you're, mindful of what thoughts you're having.
Yeah. Now, how do you do your meditation practice? Do you have like an app or something for it?
I've tried apps, and there is one that I use. It's called Headspace.
Mm-hmm.
But I also I tend to just play some meditation music
Yeah.
and sit quietly for. I try to get 20 minutes in a day. That to me is about the perfect amount of time.
Yeah. I think it's definitely really helpful. I've used Headspace before, and I think like it's psychological, like it is calming to just do that. Like I used to do it in high school a lot in classes. They'd tell us for like 5 minutes to just meditate, and I think it definitely makes
Yeah,
a difference in like your mindfulness and everything.
definitely.
Um, okay, so what would you say is like the bravest thing that you've ever done?
Um, I've moved to Europe a few times, and I would say that taking yourself out of what's comfortable,
Mhm.
and moving to a foreign country where you live in a completely different culture, having done that several times, I would say those are the moments in my life where I felt like I really had to dig deep and find the courage and to step out of my comfort zone. And they were some of the best experiences of my life, and where I grew the most personally. And I would definitely encourage anybody who ever has an opportunity to, to move to a different country and experience a different culture, to do that, because it is very transformative.
No, that sounds really amazing. I mean, yeah, it's like it's really invigorating to, I guess, put yourself in new situations and grow from them, like culturally and like personally as well. Um, and I guess for people that kind of want to follow a similar career path to you, what would you recommend to them? Like, what's the best advice that you've gotten or would give to people?
So I don't think I mentioned that before. My role at Good Social, I spent all of my career in marketing and
Mm-hmm.
worked my way up from an entry level position in a big tech company, and was last a vice president of marketing. And I would say, um, have a plan, but be prepared to uh, allow for things that are unplanned, opportunities that are unplanned, to grab onto those, because those are great growth opportunities. And, just don't expect the straight line from bottom, from the bottom to the top. You're gonna need to pivot, and you're gonna need to um, look for diversity of experiences. And most important of all, just have a growth mindset, and just be curious, and be, a student for life. We live in a time where we have unprecedented access to information, and just, continue to be a student and learn and grow, and you will ultimately, there's really no stopping you if you're willing to put yourself out there and learn, and take chances and new opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. And then my last question for you is, in what ways do you think you've grown in the past year?
Boy, that's such a great question. I would say I've done a lot of growth just in terms of personal development and spiritual growth. I think that's something that I've really dedicated a lot of time to. And as an executive of a startup company, you have to learn a lot of new skills. So I've been very open to sort of taking on new responsibility. And again, to me, it all just comes down to a willingness to explore new things, take yourself out of your comfort zone, and take risks. And so I would say that's really where I've grown, is just being more comfortable with the unknown.
Yeah, and I think that's like spiritual and the kind of mental development is just as important as, your career development or anything else in your life. I think it's like about having that balance.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so those are all my questions, but did you want to add anything else or anything else that you're thinking about, or something that you'd want to say?
I would just say, first I want to commend you on what you're doing with Fuzia. I think it's amazing that you're creating this platform for women. So I know that you have a great community and a huge following. So my hat's off to you, because I know that's not an easy thing to do. And I would just say, keep reaching for your dreams, and believe in yourself. And that's a message to, not to you, just to you, but to everybody in your community,
Yeah.
that the future belongs to women. And I'm excited at what is ahead for us as a country, as a world, because women are stepping into their own power and their position, and really making a difference.
Yeah. Thank you so much.